we start part C, Java Database Connectivity, JDBC. Last time, I give you some background information about JDBC. So you get some idea about the, how to do the communication between Java programmers and database drivers. And also, there is another part of the communication between the database drivers and the DBMS. So that part we don't need to consider. All right, so today we will look at the programming part. We need to learn the programming details. So let's start. First, I want to talk about JDBC API interfaces. In order to do JDBC programming, you need to use these 4 interfaces. So let's look at them one by one. All right, so the first one, loading an appropriate driver. JDBC driver, an appropriate Java class that you need to use to create a connection object. So the first interface you need to use this driver interface. Yeah, so this driver interface, we may have different ways to use it. Okay, yeah. So in our programs, based on the database connection types, you choose appropriate way to use it. Yeah. All right, the second step, connecting to the database. Now you have the drivers class loaded, ready for database connection. So the next step, you need to create that connection object. Here I use when you see the font, you know the object uses the spelling, okay? Exactly the same spelling as the object name, connection object. All right, so step 3, the third interface you need to use, creating and executing SQL statements. The main part in our database programming, how to get the required data, SQL statements. So our third interface, statement interface, we need to use it to do the queries, right? Different types of queries. Yeah. So this statement interface, it is an original interface, yeah. But there is another one, another type that is more useful, prepared statement. Prepared statement is a sub-interface of the statement. Sub-interface. And it has more features. Comparing with the statement interface, it has more features, more functionalities. So later we will discuss why in some special situation it is more useful, prepared statement. Yeah. The fourth one, processing the result. When you do the query, so we know when we do the query, there are several types of query, right? Yeah. Select type, okay? Insert type, update type, delete type. Yeah. These 4 types, when we do select type, we expect result return. For other 3 types, you don't need a return result. Okay? You just ask DBMS to do the queries, to execute some commands, but you do not really expect any result returned. But select is different. Select, we need to get data returned. In that case, we need to processing the result. Okay? So we need another interface called the result set interface. So the data return as a result set object. What is the result set object? The object is in a tabular format. So you can see the returned object contains the data organized in rows and columns. So then you need to read the data row by row and column by column. Okay, yeah. So that's the JDBC API interfaces we need to use in our Java JDBC programs. Next, we need to learn more detailed information. All right. The first thing I want to talk about, database preparation for JDBC. We need to do a lot of preparation, okay, before we can develop our programs. Here, let me give you the main items we need to do before we start programming. Okay. The first thing, get a database driver jar file. Yeah. So for each DBMS, you need to find its Java JDBC drivers jar library file. So you do the web search, so you find the right website and download it as a jar file and put it somewhere for your project. The first step. The second step, location for the driver. When you develop a web application, what is the right location to place your JDBC drivers library file? Yeah, so you need to know that. Yeah. Here, let me give you 2 locations. The first one, this location. This brackets, your web app brackets, this refers to your web application project folder. Okay, so you have a folder, project, okay? Yeah. Your context root, yeah, this is your context root. Under that, you know this web-inf folder, okay? Then inside that folder, you have a lib folder, library, lib folder, okay? Yeah. Now, this is the right place. You place your JDBC drivers jar file there, okay? In this folder. All right, so this is the first right location you can place, but there is another location you can also place. Inside Tomcat. Here, this bracket Tomcat refers to your Tomcat installation directory. You download the Tomcat, you unzip it. If there is an installer, you know, sometimes there is an installer, yeah, but I recommend if you download a single copy Tomcat, you should download the zip file, the core zip file. Yeah, the core, yeah. So when you go to website, so there are many links. So we want to download the core link, .zip file. So you you try to avoid that installer. Yeah. But if you do that, it is okay, installer. Yeah. All right, after you unzip it, you extract everything in one specific location. You can find it later. Yeah. That folder is your installation directory. Yeah. All right. But if that location is connected to your IDE, sometimes connected, sometimes not connected. So if it is connected, so here, this could be there could be some question mark because the old version, it is connected, so we can access. But for the newer version, I'm not sure if that way is still used. Yeah. Otherwise, it's pretty convenient. Yeah. Otherwise, because if you use this version Tomcat, you place the driver in this lib folder, then every time when you use this server, the library files are automatically loaded. Okay, so this is the second optional section, second location. But for our project to be safe, it's better to use the first one. Yeah. It is better to use the first one. Yeah. So this, if you use the independent Tomcat server, then you can do this way. Yeah, but otherwise, this way may not connect it well. Yeah, so that's why I put a question mark here. Yeah. All right. Location of the driver. Yeah. Then make sure that your database server is up and running. We use the MySQL. Yeah. So make sure, so before we start doing the JDBC programming, make sure this step, your database server is running. Remember, we use XAMPP, right? We use XAMPP. If you start a control panel of XAMPP, control panel, so you can find that icon, control panel. After you start, you remember you start Apache server. Apache, yeah, the first one, Apache HTTP server, yeah. After that, then you start MySQL server, MySQL, right? Yeah. After that, both start, then it's ready. The server is up and running, yeah. Right? So don't forget this step. Yeah. Later, I will do a demo. Yeah. For this part, I will give you an example. An example. I call it, the example I call it animal survey. Okay, so it does survey for the pets. Yeah, so the user you select, what pet do you have? So you select it, so then the database, inside database, we do the survey. Yeah. So that example, I have a tutorial document for you. Yeah. So in the tutorial, I describe the detail installation information, how to run the project. And I also explain the example in details. Yeah. So for this class, I do not need to go through the whole example, all the details. I only pick the database related operations. All right, next, verify that you have created and populated the database. Yeah. So you need to have a database script containing all the SQL statements. Yeah. So then you need to install it, run it, in your DBMS, some interface, graphical user interface. For this class, we use the PHP MyAdmin web app as the MySQL interface. Yeah. So there is a web application, PHP MyAdmin. Later I will show you. Later I will show when I run the demo. Admin, okay. All right, yeah. All right, so when you start localhost, you can find this PHP MyAdmin, okay? In my tutorial, I explain it. Yeah. All right, so then, now let's assume the database is ready. Then, database URL. In your Java programs, you need to use this URL to connect to your database. So here, the specific URL, this part fixed, okay? JDBC : MySQL : / localhost : 3306, the port number. This is the MySQL port number. So you always use this number. You never change. / Then the last part, your database name. Okay? Yeah. What is your database name? So you put there. Okay? Then in your Java programs, you can use this URL to connect to this database. All right, so that's the preparation.